Our verse today is 1 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 12. And may the Lord make you increase and abound in love for one another and for all, as we do for you. To understand this verse, we need to look at the context and then go back several verses before this one. Paul founded the church in Thessalonica together with Silas and Timothy, if you read Acts chapter 17, 1-9. But Paul had to flee with Silas in the cover of the night to Berea because of the opposition there. Probably Timothy had already left. However, Paul had already laid a solid foundation for the church, but desired to visit Thessalonica again, but he was unable. In his words he said, Satan hindered us, 1 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 18. Hence he had to write a letter to them. It is not very clear here what Paul means by Satan preventing them. Was he referring to those who were against him, some of whom had driven him out of Thessalonica, Acts chapter 17, 13 and 14, or a reference to an angel of Satan that he talks about in another place, 2 Corinthians chapter 12 verse 7. Obviously, Paul speaks about some afflictions and suffering in 1 Thessalonians chapter 3, 3-4. Whatever it is, Paul desired to return to Thessalonica but was unable to do so himself. Consequently, he sent Timothy to establish and encourage the Thessalonians in faith and know how the church was doing. 1 Thessalonians 3 verse 5. Timothy went on the mission to Thessalonica and brought back the good news of the community's faith and how the community longed to see Paul and his companions. 1 Thessalonians 3 verse 6. Paul was comforted to hear that their faith had not failed and that they were holding fast to God. And Paul's response to the report of Timothy was one of prayer and thanksgiving. 1 Thessalonians 3, 7-10. Paul concludes this prayer by calling on God the Father and the Lord Jesus Christ to direct the Thessalonians and to make them increase and abound in love for one another, as Paul and his companions did for them. There are some takeaways from this verse. First, Paul is invoking God to be with the community, to give them the spirit of love. We cannot love sincerely except the Spirit of God is truly in us. Otherwise, we may love with conditions or love based on what we want from the other person. Second, Paul wants the Thessalonians to follow their own example. Paul and his companions had lived in Thessalonica and showed them how to live in love in the Christian community. Paul always asks his churches to follow his example. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, 1 and 2, 2 Thessalonians chapter 3 verse 9 and Philippians chapter 3 verse 17. They have to continue to live out that love Paul and his companions showed to them. However prosperous a community may be, or how externally strong the faith may be, if there is no love among the believers or among the people in the community, everything crumbles. Love for each other in the community cements the external declaration of faith. Philippians 1 verse 2, 2 Thessalonians chapter 1 verse 3. In this same letter to the Thessalonians, Paul tells them the way they are to love. He says, see that no one repays anyone evil for evil, but always seek to do good to one another and to everyone. 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 15. And again he says, concerning brotherly love, you have no need for anyone to write to you, for you yourselves have been taught by God to love one another. 1 Thessalonians 4 verse 9. But who taught them? Paul and his companions in word and deed. We too are challenged today to love, but above all, to be an example of love to others. Can someone say today that they have learned to love because of your way of life? Lord, make us increase and abound in love for one another in our respective families, in the family of God, the church, and in the world wherever we live. Amen. God bless you. Have a lovely day.